Today, we're talking about guys who go overseas to find women, most commonly called passport bros. I'm kind of tired of this conversation because we've talked about it a lot, but I have changed my mind. Now, the definition, for those of you who don't know, passport bros are men who have chosen to seek out foreign women from other countries for relationships. So that's the definition. You go overseas with the purpose of finding a woman because you can't, or it's too hard, or it's more attractive to find them overseas and not where you are. My reaction to passport bros is I found it like eye rolling and annoying, and I thought it was kind of silly because I I don't find it important. I wouldn't put in that much time, effort, and money to do it. It's such an unknown. Like, why would I seriously invest my life just to kind of see what happens? Whereas your reaction was really different.
Yeah. Well, I think my reaction's different because I came at it with a clear mind. I think because you've been more in the red pill community, that's kind of changed how you view that. And for me, I see passport bros more as I wouldn't even call them passport bros. I would just call them people who travel overseas for whatever reason, which is completely normal, I think. So I think the red pill kind of put this label on it of a passport bro to go and find some submissive woman overseas. But yeah, I think it's only that small group of men that kind of put that weird twist on it. But in reality, it's just something that people have always done.
Yeah, I must admit, because it's labeled bro at the end, it's a very juvenile saying. You only hear it talked about in very clickbaity, sort of provocative podcast channels like Pearl and Fresh and Fit and things like that. So it's kind of like I just associate it with bros and very juvenile discussion. But then when your reaction was so positive, it's like, no, what's wrong with it? And then you described it, and I said, well, yeah, that's sensible. But I think it's the label that just made me dismiss it all the time.
Yeah, you had a very negative reaction to it. Well, mine was very positive from the start, but I really think it's because you look at it from the red pill perspective and I look at it from just a normal perspective, because if someone were to say to you, like a friend or whatever, were to say to you, oh, I'm just going to travel abroad and have fun, that's completely normal. And if women are a part of that, then that's normal as well. Or if someone's told you, I met someone online or while I was on vacation, I'm thinking of moving to that country, that's also fine. Of course, you have to be careful about it and everything. And then obviously also, if you're just doing research to move to a different country, and you have the resources and then you decide to do that because you want to improve your life in some way, that's also completely normal. So everything is completely normal. It's just that, like I keep saying, the red pill put a spin on it and turned it into something cringy and controversial that it's really not.
Yeah, I think when I hear the term passport bro, it's similar to the reaction I get when I hear the term wage gap.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the same cliche dipshits talking about it in the same high school dipshit way. I think the label really kept me away from it.
That label passport bros to me is the same as all of those other terms that they coined, like submissive, body count,
High value male.
alpha, all of those words are so cringy. So yeah, they just flipped it into something that it's not.
Really, the more I talk to you, and you really had a surprised reaction, and that made me stop.
Yeah, you were very negative about it, and I kept defending men.
Yeah.
Like, it's just normal. Like, just do what you want to do. And I think it's because before I was with you, before I met you, I've always been very independent and on my own, and I kind of do what I want. Like, we've moved as a family a lot, I've traveled a lot, so, I think it's also because I can relate to it, you know? Like, I've always been very open to moving abroad. I've always thought, oh, I think I might end up with someone who lives abroad, like you, I have, so that's true. So, freedom is a big thing for me. And like, just if you want to do something and you can, like, why wouldn't you do it? So I'm all for guys who want to travel for whatever reason. People shouldn't judge them for what they want to do. Like, if they mess up later on and they get into trouble, that's on them. Like, why do people need to judge them for it?
That's another thing. I was never a travel until the last couple of years. I've started to appreciate traveling. And it's only when I did it of my own free will or stumbled into it or I was with someone, it's like, okay, let's go on a holiday. And then it's like, oh, this is actually more fun than I thought it was going to be. When I went to meet you, I went for a reason, but also I was surprised by the people there. So now, after not just meeting you, but what my experience of meeting you showed me is like, yeah, why wouldn't a guy go to a better place? Because our parents, I look at my parents, they came to Australia before they had me for a better opportunity. The human race has been moving from where they were, not just to cut the strings from their parents to grow up and be their own adult, but like move somewhere else that's more attractive. That seems like you'll have a better life. And if part of the better life is a better women overseas, which now I can actually see, generally women are much better than in the West, and women don't like hearing it, but they are. In general, you pick 100 women with your eyes closed off the street in Europe, and you pick 100 women off the street in America or Australia. I bet you most of the women will be better in Europe. It's just a fact. It's not opinion. It's a fact.
Yeah. I also just want to say about the red pill, like, obviously there's good things and bad things about the red pill. Like, no hate on them at all. But I do think that I have a very different perspective because I'm Dutch and I'm from Holland. And before I met you, I didn't know really anything about the red pill or the way some of these women act in the US, on all of those videos that I started watching after I met you.
You were watching some of that stuff, I'm pretty sure, on YouTube.
No, sometimes like reality TV or stuff.
You thought Western women, like it was just all an act, like reality TV or something?
No, but reality TV is a bit different from those types of videos that I've been watching this last year since I've been living with you. Like before, maybe sometimes I hardly ever watch TV, but you'll watch like some reality TV sometimes and you'll see the way women act in America. But then it's more like they're just kind of spoiled and entitled and like, those rich women and girls who want to make it and stuff. But it doesn't really go into what I've been seeing now on YouTube, on like Fresh and Fit and the whatever podcast and Pearly Things and all of those podcasts where the women have such unrealistic and high demands for men while they're like so entitled and delusional, where it's very cringy and embarrassing to watch as a woman. And so what I was getting at is, coming from the Netherlands, it's very weird to see all of that because to me, it feels like it's not real. It feels like it's some kind of fake reality thing because I can't imagine women actually being like that because it's just so obnoxious. And I think it's kind of sad that men in the red pill think that all women are like that sometimes. But I get it because if you live in the US or in these places and you're constantly surrounded by these types of women, then I get that, you kind of think, oh, all women are probably like this. But that really isn't true. The world is very big and I promise you, not all women are like that at all. There are a lot of people in the world that will be watching those videos and they'll be so embarrassed to look at it.
The dangerous thing is that most people are watching it as entertainment and slowly it seeps into your view of relationships. If that's all you watch, that's all that kind of really stimulates you and gets you excited and you keep watching this content. It kind of seeps in as like, yeah, I'm going to watch out for this all the time. You're going to be hyper nervous and a bit overly suspicious. Your relationship with relationships and men and women will be affected by this stuff. They're used to the game playing and all the drama, and that's all they think relationships are. And no wonder relationships are hard. And no wonder you'd go overseas if this is all your.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Like, I completely understand why this term passport bros, even in the red pill community, has kind of been coined because, the more you see these types of women around you, I can imagine just by watching those videos, that you wouldn't want to date in that pool. So you're obviously going to look elsewhere if you really want a girlfriend or a wife or you want to have a family. So that makes complete sense to me that you would want to look elsewhere and look overseas maybe. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. It's only logical. Like you can't have women behaving like that and then at the same time have those women be angry at those men for leaving and shaming them for leaving. Like what do you expect? You can't act like that and then expect them to stay and, keep like simping for you. That's also a term I learned from the red pill.
Well, see what I mean? Like a lot of these cliche terms like simping and alpha male and hypergamy and monkey branching and like a lot of these terms, they're kind of very, very much in that bubble. And if you start learning that jargon, I've said before to guys that imagine how you sound to just a normal person who's not exposed to this stuff. Imagine you meet a girl who's not political, she doesn't buy into this stuff, and you start talking like this, like with the jargon, and
Yeah.
she's going to be like, I can't communicate, I don't get it. You have to explain everything you say and dumb it down because you're talking academic red pill.
Yeah, that's really true. Like all of those terms that they've come up with, they sound really cringy. And like in real conversation in the real world, I feel like you wouldn't use them or you would just look really silly. Like there's a lot of truth to the red pill and I get where they're coming from, but they've kind of taken it too far and made it into this kind of game where it's like men against women and they're all protecting each other, protecting themselves, I mean, and like fighting against each other. And it's just become this weird thing.
Yeah, it's become a video game. So, what would be some of the pros and cons for guys wanting to be a passport? I can't even say it. For guys wanting to go overseas to find a woman because the women here they just don't they're not having any luck. What would be some of the pros and cons of doing that?
Well, I think the pro is that it's amazing that in this lifetime, like we can just do what we want to do, basically. So, yeah, if you meet someone overseas, then I obviously think you should be careful. You should do your research, get to know that person really well before you actually move there. So, do it like we did. You came to Holland twice first, and then I moved over here to Australia. Um, but yeah, and then you can just move to a different country to be with someone else. There are also other pros, like maybe the financial situation in that country is a lot better, the cultural situation can be a lot better. Uh, just your overall quality of life can really improve by moving to a different country as well. So it's not just about the person, you also have all of these secondary benefits as well. Um, yeah, I also think it kind of depends on the person, like what you're looking for. But yeah, it could always be a good experience. You should just be careful about it.
Well, the pros for me would first be I'm looking at myself. Like if I were the kind of person, if I hadn't met you, if you really don't have much fuel left in the tank for dating, if you've been really demoralized by women in the West, and it's kind of like, I'm done, I'm going to go monk or whatever, but like, I'm going to give it one more shot. I would encourage guys, maybe if they've tried and I can see they've been sensible, but it's really, I can't see they've done anything wrong other than they just keep meeting entitled women in the West, which is very easy because they're everywhere. Use the remaining fuel maybe to go overseas. Because like me, I just thought women are the same everywhere. And female nature is the same everywhere, but culturally, women are very different in different parts of the world. Like I said, in Holland, honestly, I just didn't sense any politics or hate amongst
Yeah.
people. It wasn't like rainbows and kumbaya, but it just felt so invigorating and nice to actually believe what people were saying and when they were being nice to you. I realized I was in holiday mode too, but genuinely there was no contradictions. It was all just direct and clear.
We're just normal and down to earth. And that's why I think there are a lot of people in the world, and like Dutch people, but also other cultures probably, who look at this stuff on YouTube. And to us, it's just pure entertainment. We're just like, whoa, look at this. Like, the fuck is this? This is embarrassing. But it's like TV, it's entertainment. But we would never do that in real life, or we don't see those things in real life. At least I didn't in Holland.
Yeah, and this is something. If you're in the West and frustrated, I get it. Especially if you're in the US, I get it. It's terrible, and you just want it to go away. Like, I'm gonna just play video games. F you all. Like, I'm tired of it because you don't like going to another country. Like, that's a huge step. Like, that's a big change in your life. You have to be really certain or very open. And if you're not, then it's easier to just say fuck you all. Like, I'm done.
But you know what I don't get? I don't even get why this is an issue. Because with any other thing, this would be completely fine. Like, if I would live in Alaska and I hate the cold, right? And I want to move to Bonaire, a warm Caribbean island, right? I want to move because I want to have a better quality of life and the weather is much nicer in Bonaire. That's a really good reason to move, right? So if I'm not happy, if I want to be with someone, I want to get married or whatever, and I want to move to a different country, then why is that reason all of a sudden being judged and being shamed by people? Like, it's just another reason why you would want to move or why you would want to travel. Like, who cares? I don't get where all of this judgment and shame is coming from. Like, to me, it's just completely normal. Like, everyone should just do what they want to do, you know?
But you know what the internet's like. People really feel demoralized when they get publicly shamed online. They feel like the whole world is against them and they're wrong for having their own opinion or having their own experience and saying, yeah, I know the data says this and men or women are stupid, but you know what? Like, I really want to try it. And in my experience, that was nice, but everyone's telling me not to do that. So, I think the internet as well. I would say, I mentioned this to you, I didn't see many fat women in the Netherlands. I think by the end of the 2 weeks, I think I saw like one or two, and they were kind of plump, but they weren't obese and just generally polite and normal. And I would say the con is if you're going to a third world country as a guy, just to be careful because she might not mean it, but you're like a rock star to her. You're like a movie star, millionaire. Like you could just live in a normal house in the West or a normal apartment and have a shitty car. But to a third world girl living in a village, like banging coconuts and tapping goats on the arse with a stick, like you're Elon Musk. So just be careful. Yeah, you might say, well, she's going to be submissive because I'm like a rock star. It's like, yeah, soon she knows that she'll control the domestic thing, and then little by little, this is the dangerous thing that guys talk about when they bring overseas women. So if you go to a third world country thinking that you're going to be the alpha and she's submissive and you're going to have a pet on the leash, be careful, especially if you're not going to stay there, if you're going to bring her over. But if you're going to another first world country like the way we met, it's not as big a deal. It's just kind of be sensible with what you're doing. Know what the red pill is, use it, but don't let it speak for you. Use it when you see red flags pop up. Talk about it, be open, don't hide. But don't let the red pill speak for you. But and also, if you are going to move into another country, be aware of the realities of cultural assimilation, um, the reality of living in another place, things like that. And also the reality of the other person like you coming over here, what your life is going to be like. Too many people have like a fantasy view, whether they go over there or come here, they're still in holiday mode.
Something else about this topic, I've noticed that there's a lot of backlash. I think especially from women. And like I've said before, I don't understand where all of this shame and judgment is coming from because I think it's completely normal. I think people have always done this, traveled.
As in, they shame guys for wanting to go overseas and find women.
Yeah. And I think it's completely ridiculous because, like I said before, if women act a certain way and that makes men want to date overseas, then that's your fault. Like, you can't get angry at them if they then want to go overseas to find other women, you know?
If you're at a shitty job, you leave your job, you try and find another job somewhere else.
Yeah. So I think women that react really negatively towards passport bros, they probably kind of feel rejected and like their pool of men is getting smaller. And they're like, oh, why are you going overseas? But it's just like the men are basically telling them, because you suck. So I'm going to look overseas to find a better woman.
I think it's the same response women have even locally to when an older guy goes for a younger woman. It's like, I don't want you. I've had enough of you. I'm going for someone younger.
Yeah.
Like, they're less complicated. Yes, they're more beautiful, but I'm tired of all your shit, all your baggage, all your entitlement, your kids, you demand this. Like, you know what? I'm going to go for someone who's more naive and less demanding. And I think it's the same thing. I'm going to go overseas because women are simpler. Given all the bullshit that you are, like whether it's the bullshit of women in the West or the bullshit of women around your own age, if you have enough, you go somewhere where it's less complicated, whether it's a younger woman or a country where women are less complicated.
And I also think it's really mean when women shame specifically men who can't really find women in their own country. Like they're having a really hard time dating women. And so that's why they want to date overseas. I think it's really mean for women then to go, oh, you're only going overseas because you can't get a woman here. Like, yeah, I can't get a woman here and I want a girlfriend. I want to date. That's why I'm going overseas. Like, are you just bullying me because I'm unattractive or insecure and I can't find a woman? Like, what does that say about you? If you bully men for that reason, like, let them go and date and be with women. Like, why do you care? You know, it's
Yeah, I
really
think men have gotten very sick over the last couple of generations of the only tactic women seem to have is shaming. Oh, you can't get laid. Oh, you just can't get a woman here. You can't man up enough to get me. It's like, you know what? Like, no matter what I do and try, I'm always shamed. I'm never good enough. It's like, how about I go somewhere where I don't get this, where dating feels good, not always like this and annoyed at me and something's wrong and I'm always at fault and I don't know why because you don't communicate and you gaslight. It's like, how about I just go somewhere where it's nicer, where women are less complicated, where I enjoy dating. It's so dumb. All the only weapon they've got is shame. Where?
that is really something you see come back in so many of those videos that I've watched. Just always this shaming men for their preferences, for what they do, for what they don't want to do. Like there's so much of that going on.
How many times do you see like a really articulate man? He's smart and he's making good points, and the only comeback women make is like, "Well, you don't have a girlfriend, do you? Or do you have a small dick?" Or like stay on topic. Is that your mic drop? Is going for something personal to make me feel bad? Do you have any actual good points to rebut with? No, you just got personal insults to make a man feel this small. Yeah, you're going to win men that way, ladies. Keep doing that. It's worked. That's why they're going overseas. They go to Thailand, the woman can't even speak English, and they still learn to find a relationship with them. Why? Because she's not like you. But women in the West think, I'm great, I'm a 10. Like your looks are a 1 and your personality is like negative 10. But no, my self-esteem, I'm 10.
That delusion that those types of women have is so embarrassing and cringy to watch, but it's really interesting to make a video about also, I think, because it's just crazy.
So I've changed my mind, and also my mind has been changed by my empirical experience when I went to Holland. I actually saw that, oh, women don't hate me. There's no politics. People are nice. Women like men. Like women like men here. It's so much easier for me to like you back. Shock, horror. And I would just offer, in conclusion, is whatever you decide to do is date with intent. Like know what you want and just use the red pill. It is useful. Use it as a tool to set up boundaries and protect yourself, but don't neurotically put it in front of you and let it speak for you all the time. So date with intent. That would be my advice if you're going to go and date overseas, which I wouldn't discourage guys to do anymore. Before I would have like not shamed them, but I would have been like, man, really? Are women worth spending thousands of dollars to go and try and just, what's the difference between going on Tinder overseas and going on Tinder here? They're all trash.
Yeah, but see, that's interesting what you just said, because you also used to hold that viewpoint that all women are the same.
I kind of never believed that women were all the same overseas, but I just kind of believe like, what's the difference between a relationship overseas and a relationship here?
Because the women can be different overseas.
Right.
Yeah.
And I knew that women weren't all the same, but I didn't find women in relationships that important that I would, you know, go to that amount of financial and like time investment to find a relationship.
I think it was probably a combination of your mind was really infiltrated with the red pill, and in your personal life, you were kind of done and you weren't looking for anyone anymore. Yeah. I think a combination of those two things made you think that way.
Yeah, I didn't care. I really, like, I don't think I've been angry for a long time, but I just kind of got worn out and I just didn't care.
Yeah.
I've said this before on my other channel, where before I met you, I made a decision that I was just going to be real about my life, and I just was done with relationships. That was part of my life that I'm getting rid of any stresses. Like I don't need it anymore. So I was just tired of dating. I had no more fuel in the tank. But you're right. I had a lot of the red pill stuff because I've been involved in talking and making videos in that sphere for a while. And I was always kind of trying to talk more realistically and talk about real life in relation to it. And like I drifted away from that community, but a lot of the sensible things stayed, and I defended myself with a lot of those. So what's your advice for passport bros?
My advice would be to just do what you want to do, live your life. Don't listen to people who judge you or shame you. It's your life, you only live once. The only thing I would say is before you make an important decision, obviously be careful, do your research, plan things out. If you meet someone, take your time, go on vacation a few times first before you actually move. But basically, what you want to do is what you can do. So just go for it. That's what I would say.
Such a girl response.
Is it?
Do what you want to do. Life is short, whatever. No, but you're saying to be sensible.
I'm not saying to be impulsive, only maybe if you're just going on vacation somewhere, that's fine. But before you actually move to a different country, because obviously I moved to Australia and this wasn't impulsive at all, like we've really talked about it, thought everything through, made all the arrangements, so you have to really prepare and just be careful.
Don't be naive, and then
Yeah.
own the situation. Like be aware of what could happen and what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, but I am more so saying that because people sometimes really let other people affect them, but it's basically just this is your life. And if you want to do something and you can, you have the opportunity, you have the resources, it's going to make your life better in some way, then just do it. And that's all there is to it. Hey, that rhymed, I think.
Okay. In closing, does anyone else have their own experiences with passport bros, and has your opinion changed like mine has? Leave your comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.